Welcome everybody to this presentation about online emergency pedagogy and university student perceptions. I am a PhD student from the University of Turin, and this presentation is based on the first results of my research. Let's start. Now some background information. I started my PhD program in November 2019, and I was supposed to work on English language teaching and e-learning. But then the emergency broke out. And so I decided to reshape my research in order to focus on how Italian universities were coping with the coronavirus emergency, which forced the entire education system to shift to move onto digital platforms. So I chose 9 state universities all over Italy, and I observed a couple of lessons from courses focusing on the English language, the so-called lettorati, and on English linguistics, which were attended by BA and MA students. All the lecturers used Moodle as a platform and uploaded material into that. I followed lessons, recorded video lessons, online live classes, and recorded online live classes. I observed, first I noticed a variety of video conferencing tools universities were using, that is Microsoft Teams, Zoom, and WebEx. These were the most common ones. Here we have the first issue we should think about. State universities were using video conferencing tools provided by private companies, which were, as a side effect, collecting information and material about students. So, first question, how can we make sure that all this huge amount of personal data is stored in the proper way and is used in the proper way? This slide is based on the first results of my questionnaires. Questionnaires students and lecturers have filled in. So far, 700 students from all over Italy have answered my questions. And here we have a striking element. Despite being digital natives, only 13% of university students have had an online course, whereas 87% of them had never attended an online course before the emergency. Whereas lecturers, here we have just 30 lecturers altogether. So 60% of them had already taught an online course. So the first element is that we take for granted that young generations are familiar with technology, but we have to take into account that maybe not all of them have experience and are familiar with technology, or as familiar as we think they are. Let's focus on students' perceptions concerning online live classes, which were attended in a synchronous mode. Students think it's a good idea to split the courses to have less attendees in order to increase the quality of the connection and the interaction among students and between students and lecturer. Concerning this point, they would like to have clear instructions to interact during an online class. Sometimes they wrote in the chat asking for the permission to ask a question, and then they ask a question using the voice. But sometimes the lecturer didn't see the question in time, and they waited to ask the question. Then they'd like to have uniform procedures to attend the lessons for all the courses they are supposed to attend. Then sometimes they were given links to online classes, to the live online classes, which weren't working, and they had some troubles joining in. Then they would like to have the same schedule as before the emergency. It's strange because some lecturers reduced the amount of hours in order to let students concentrate on their own on the study material. But students would like, in case of emergency, would like to have the same amount of lesson as they have in presence. Then they would like to have less theory and more practice. In Italian universities, sometimes we tend to have more theory than practice. But in this situation, they would like to have more activities, and it could be also useful useful piece of information concerning the university pedagogy, because maybe we should start reducing the amount of theory and somehow increasing the amount of practice to make students more active. Then they would like to have recorded online classes on their Moodle page. If lecturers record the online classes and put them onto the Moodle page, students can attend them, because sometimes lessons are overlapping, or some students can't attend them for some reasons. Then they would like to have the recordings on the Moodle page, of course, but also extra materials, for example, for students with special needs or for working students, in order to be able to pass the exam. Let's focus on video lessons, recorded lessons attended in an asynchronous mode. They are useful, according to students, because they can watch them whenever they want and how many times they feel it is useful. But they have some suggestions to improve the quality of video lessons. For example, they say that it's better to avoid too long video lessons because they are heavy to download and sometimes they are also difficult to follow. And lecturers should avoid too many topics, putting too many topics into a single lesson. Maybe it's better to devote shorter video lessons on different topics. Then, even if they are asynchronous lessons, students would like to do practical activities, maybe on the Moodle page, and they would like to get feedback from their lecturers, even if it's in a synchronous mode. And the Moodle page is a key element here because it is a kind of notice board, a container for materials to support students also with special needs and working students, or it is a place where they could find all the materials related to the lesson and also the recordings. Of course, asynchronous lessons are a problem for the interaction. Could be a problem for the interaction. But anyway, so students think that lecturers should use chats and forums to keep the interaction going and maybe organize office hours to answer their questions. Now let's talk about exams. Students feel very anxious about their exams. They have never set online exams. So they feel that lecturers should increase the self-evaluation activities to make them, to train them to pass exams in this new format. Then maybe they would like to have more continuous assessment, for example, projects. And of course, they would like to have mock tests to experience what the new exams are like. Then, of course, they feel that lecturers should maybe reduce the syllabus or change their requests according to the context and to the contents dealt with during the course. Lecturers had to change overnight their courses, and so maybe they didn't have the possibility to deal with the syllabus. So they feel that the exam should mirror what they actually did during the classes. Then there should be procedures, easy procedures to take exams. And this is very important, according to them. Teachers, lecturers should take into account that not all students can rely on technology. Some students, for example, were visiting their parents, their families, when the emergency broke out and university was shut down. So they didn't have all the technology with them, and sometimes they just had their mobile phones, or they had to share computers with other family members. Now let's focus on the challenges universities as institutions have to face according to students. They should establish guidelines all lecturers have to follow concerning schedules, procedures to attend courses, the syllabus and exams. They should clearly explain what students and lecturers are required to do, and they should make agreements with publishers in order to upload chapters from books and articles to the Moodle page. Here there could be copyright problems, but some students were visiting their families when the emergency broke out and they didn't have their books with them. Then they should be ready and organized to guarantee the quality of education, also for online courses. And they should understand students' needs and respond accordingly in order to help them to carry on with their career. Now let's focus on challenges lecturers have to face according to students. They should acquire and enhance their digital skills and have a good internet connection. Then they should be more available and more sympathetic, listening, understanding, and responding to students' needs. Students make it clear that the COVID-19 was a kind of trauma for them, and they felt that lecturers sometimes simply didn't understand it. Because they sometimes overloaded students with activities. They would like to have more seminars to work in small groups and interact more, also among students. And they should improve communication and reach out to students, be there, trying to be involving, even though students know that it depends sometimes on the single lecturer's ability to involve students. And now some food for thought for the next semester. There are problems with the internet connection and bandwidth, so they represented big problems for students during the emergency. Then we have already spoken about the copyright problems concerning materials uploaded to Moodle pages, which are very useful in case students don't have the books with them. Then there is a problem with the setting, because students said that at home they are easily distracted, they feel not involved, and sometimes some of them feel uneasy if they know that the lesson is being recorded, so they prefer not to ask questions, and they should be given the possibility to have more office hours, for example, to reach out to their professors and ask questions. And then there is a big problem concerning the human relationship and mutual acknowledgement. Lecturers should find a way to establish a relationship with the students, even if they interact through a screen, because students need to feel closer to the teachers and need to be seen. And lots of them underline this aspect, very important to them. For now, that's all. Thank you very much for your attention. Goodbye.